Podcast starts now. Wow, 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 wow. Welcome to StraightioLab.
I have been targeted by the surveillance state. On my way here.
Your phone has been shut down.
My phone has been shut down a la the Netflix film based on the book Leave the World Behind, where Julia Roberts can't text.
Yeah, so that's happening to you in real life.
That's happening to me, and in that sense, I'm sort of like Julia Roberts. But I was running late on my way here, and first of all, my train stopped, which, happens in New York because of our amazing transportation system. And then my phone immediately went on SOS mode, and there's nothing I can do to fix it. Thoughts?
Well, do you have any theories, any reasons why you should be targeted?
Okay, so my sister this morning texted me, "Is your phone saying SOS only?" And I sort of ignored it because I was in a hurry. And as I was texting her back, my phone went on SOS mode. So not only do I think I'm being targeted, I think my biological family is being targeted.
Do you think it's anti-Greek?
Well, that is the real question.
Yeah.
I will say gay marriage was just legalized in Greece last week. And so potentially they are targeting LGBTQ plus members of the Greek diaspora and saying it could be like a pro-LGBTQ lobby that's saying get back there and get married.
Yeah.
We need
your phone only works in Greece.
Your phone only works in Greece. Or it could be homophobic people targeting the Greek diaspora saying, "Oh, you think you get married? F slur.
Yeah, good luck texting.
Good luck texting, sweetheart. How are you going to text your fiance to plan the wedding?" And guess what? Literally today we are going to a venue for the wedding.
Yeah.
I will not be able to communicate before that.
They're stopping you.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm really in the thick of this and I haven't figured it out yet, but it does feel, when something like that happens, you're like, oh, the infrastructure that upholds modern life is so delicate. And like, if we just suddenly stop being able to access the internet, like people would die.
I mean, I've always felt the fear around my phone dying is not like, oh, I just don't want to be inconvenienced. It's like, if my phone dies in Manhattan, I'm stuck here. I will die here. I will starve. I can't buy anything. I can't get on a train.
I don't know how to get from 55th Street to 56th Street without looking at Google Maps.
I've been to this very studio, 20, let's say 20, 25. I've been here a lot.
Yeah.
I got off the train and I said, am I on the right street?
The way I have to look up, like, my... even if I've been somewhere 50 times, I'm like, well, just in case they change the trains. In case they change the trains, I want to double check that I can take the same ones I always take.
This weekend, not to take it away from the Greek diaspora, but this weekend, the L, Google was saying it was down. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That happened when we went to see Madam Web, which we can't talk about for a third episode in a row.
So maybe it's not about you, and maybe our society. Well,
I do think the train is not about me. I would say I have the ability to look past myself on that one. In terms of the SOS only being targeted me and my sister, I'm less convinced there. I do think that might be more targeted.
I was also thinking maybe it's sort of an it follows situation where she texted you, I'm only having SOS,
totally.
And now you have it.
Well, it was funny because I was about to text back, which is so sort of like mansplaining. I was about to be like, just turn your phone on, like just turn airplane mode on and off.
Well, yeah.
As though she doesn't know how to do that.
Well, it's important to reiterate.
Maybe I'm even being punished for that.
That's true. It's possible.
Yeah. Speaking of me being targeted, I wanted to talk on the record about what happened to me on my show.
You've been being targeted by a lot of people, both the tech industry and just normal people.
Entertainment industry recently, just in terms of my lack of income, you could say.
Of course.
So, yes, this is what people talk about when they talk about intersecting systems of oppression.
Yeah. Is
that multiple different systems are conspiring against me. A sort of ethnic white gay man.
Yeah, you're a victim.
I'm a victim. I did my show recently, and I should say as a background, I had just done my show at the Bell House. When I tell you, it was like, when you're just firing on all cylinders, the audience is with you, you feel like you are Dane Cook at Madison Square Garden circa 2005. You're saying everyone is on my side.
Yeah, it's a toxic
and the
feeling.
culture is shaping itself around what I'm saying in real time.
You can feel yourself getting lazy in the moment.
Exactly. So then I went into the next, I had another date to do it. And I went into it being like, all right, this will be a piece of cake. This is essentially my victory lap. I mean, I've already signed the papers to do a special that actually airs on all the streaming platforms at once. It's the first in history. And this is just for me. It's for me and the fans.
Yeah.
Show starts, it's going mid. I'm not connecting with the audience. I'm big enough to admit that. I think it is partly my fault. I'm not getting to a place where I feel momentum. I'm not getting to a place where everyone's sort of on the train with me. It's like with each joke, I have to win them back over.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm a pro. I can do this. I'll just sort of white knuckle it. It's not like I was bombing. I was just sort of at a 6 out of 10. Midway through the show, I hear, "Shut up," from the audience. And I was like, okay, well, I have to address this. I'm not mad. Sometimes things happen.
You believe in free speech.
It was a woman's voice, something I try to amplify as much as I can.
Of course.
I look into the audience and I say, "Did you say shut up?" Sort of with a smile on my face, wanting to make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Her response is, "Oh, I didn't come here to see you. I came here to see Alison Leiby," who was one of the people that did an opening set. But her vibe was not like she was trying to heckle me. She was trying to basically say something she thought was sort of funny and yes-anding me, but kept saying the wrong thing. So I was like, trying to play with it. I was like, that is the most insane thing you could have possibly said. Like, this interaction, blah, blah. And then she keeps going and she's like, "I loved Allison's show at Cherry Lane Theater." I was like, yeah, no, we all did. But that's just sort of not what this conversation is about. And so it kept going back and forth. And I was like, I think I said something like, it's like you learn the rules of yes and, but then didn't learn English. So you're just sort of like, which sentences, I know I need to keep this going, but I don't know which sentences I could utter.
Did you feel that she was the one not understanding language, or you were the one not understanding language?
And the thing is, I then posted about this, very sort of not being like mad, but just sort of making light of it. A girl found it and she responded and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I actually said shut up to a friend of mine that was next to me because she sort of gave me a look after one of your jokes." And I didn't respond, but I wanted to be like, the issue is not the shut up. The issue is the response, "I'm not here to see you," when I called you out. It's so funny because it's almost like it's still going. The miscommunication is still going where I'm like, well, she's like, "Oh my God, sorry. I wasn't saying shut up to you." I'm like, not the issue.
Well, there's also, I'm a little bit like, oh no, now you're bringing it to us. Now she's going to find this.
Yeah.
She's going to DM us both.
Because I have accidentally cyberbullied people in the past, and this is not that. I'm not doxing anyone. I'm saying the truth. I'm doing fact-based analysis.
But she is going to message us.
I don't care. And I also wish her the best because I don't think this is her fault. But I am sort of like, you need to figure this out because I don't want to know what work meetings are going like for you.
Yeah, so I guess if you are hearing this, start listening, active listening.
Yes.
Pay attention to how other people respond to stuff.
Yes.
That could really inform something for you.
I'm also not mad. I'm not mad at you. In fact, this has given me so much joy to talk about with other people. I don't know who you are. I don't know. Nothing bad is going to happen.
No, you are
not worry.
Diva queen.
We are a diva queen. I'm not going to send the keyboard warriors after you in this day and age. But anyway, so that's my story.
Well, I'm glad you got it off your chest.
Yeah, I had to get it off my chest. Sorry, I've been talking for 15 minutes.
No, I celebrate it.
Do you think it's time to bring in our guest?
I think it's absolutely
Let's
time
hope he doesn't heckle me.
And damn, he got you good.
Okay, we have multiple things to promote.
Yeah.
His book, Comedy Book, is out.
Yeah.
We are mentioned in it, spoiler alert. But that's not why we're having him on the podcast.
Yeah.
A little bit, probably why.
Yeah, it helps.
And his Peacock visual album of his podcast, Good One, is dropping in March. So we don't know if it's out yet, but you could actually go on Peacock and set an alert.
Yeah.
So please welcome Jesse David Fox.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you for telling a comedy story.
Yeah,
Oh my
what'd you think
God.
of that? What'd
I
you
know I
think
should
of
have
George's
saved it for a
story?
good one.
I know. Yeah, that's gonna be your good one. That story on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Just click it.
Yeah, exactly.
Did anything jump to you sort of comedy analytically about George's story?
Yeah, as a comedy critic,
As
what
a
do you
comedy
think I should have done?
Yeah, what could he have done better?
Well, it does suggest where audiences are at. They feel like it's a participatory. They're watching the clips online.
Yeah.
They're like, going to a comedy show, better be ready for my funny things to say.
Yeah.
So it's possible she came locked and loaded.
Well, okay, but
So
then she
that's actually a
claims-
real comedy
but she
analysis.
claims
I know,
she
sorry.
did it. I agree, but this is what's weird about it. she claims that the initial shut up was, in fact, she accidentally said it louder than she meant to her friend. So, in fact, she did not come wanting to participate. By the way, I didn't say the final thing that happened, and I'll be quick, which is that I, talk to her for 10 minutes, keep going, whatever. 15 minutes later, I say something that's basically like encouraging the audience to say something back. She responds to it. With like a normal response, like a good one, and then it's like sort of funny because I'm like, okay, I like you now. Like we're getting margaritas later. It was funny, whatever.
Sure.
But to have after all of that, to be like, okay, now I'm gonna really show my true colors. I'm gonna show him that I deserve to be here.
I celebrate it. I'm glad she didn't feel timid. I'm glad she wasn't like, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm glad she was
I did
I'm
think
here to
of
have
that.
some fun.
Exactly. And I also was like almost proud of. I was like, oh, good. I was able to sort of comic deals with Heckler without making her feel bad to the point where she stayed and participated.
While George claims that he likes to amplify women's voices, he has, in Seattle, I remember actually made a woman walk out of our show.
Oh, that's right. I did do that.
What did you do?
I couldn't tell you, but I was in the right. Let's just say that.
I also love to be like, I don't care, but I am going to talk about it for 15 minutes.
Whatever. By the way, this was not my set, but one time, did I tell you the story about one time I was performing in a club environment, and some woman got into like a fight with one of the comics. She walks up, and on her way out, with her back turned towards the audience, she does 2 middle fingers and flips off the audience as she's like runway walking out of the room.
Because the walk out is truly when the show is theirs.
Yeah,
their stage is the walk out. So they can.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because it's like, even if it's literally like a violent heckler, people are still barely going to be on the comedian side. Because if you make someone walk out, you're sort of the bad guy. No?
It is a weird energy when people cheer for a person to leave.
Yeah.
I don't like to do that. Like, it feels like, wait, why did we as a group decide this one person is our villain? Even if they did something bad, you're like, this is a mob mentality I did not sign up for. And, well, I guess I did because you're in an audience. But especially because often it is like, like the archetypal comedian v. heckler video is like, man who does not want to amplify female heckler's voice.
Of course.
Yeah.
So then it's like, all of us are going to get that woman for daring to speak in public.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's sort of a modern witch trial?
Yes. So George, maybe you're subverting it in your version.
Yeah.
Of it.
Do you think you're subverting it?
Yes. I was doing diva worship. I was doing the diva worship version of dealing with a heckler.
Comedian worships heckler for the queen that she is.
Heckler for the queen that she is, exactly.
That's powerful.
Yeah, well.
Clip it.
Huh. Is there a chapter in your book about comedian destroys heckler?
Didn't read the whole book.
Yeah, that was a real rookie mistake there.
That's in the book.
I have to say, I did read the book, but I read it, not to brag, when I got an advanced copy, and it has now been almost a calendar year. So I remember very little. But I do remember us being mentioned.
Yes, you're mentioned. I think, if anything, it's possible in the final version I write more about you than in the galley version.
Whoa. The whole conclusion is why we're the future of comedy.
But I do talk about the clips and how to decontextualize the comedy space and put it on the internet in a place without context, and how that is bad, and we are losing,
I mean, it's true. By the way, they don't do that for theater. They don't do that. They don't put literally like one. I guess they do it for a musical. They kind of do
it for musical theater.
For a musical theater, but that's not a real art form.
Yeah.
But they don't do it. They don't do it for like, Actually, no, they do it for a monologue. Okay, so I'm wrong. I guess context really is, if there's one thing that social media has killed, as we've said many times, it's context.
Of course. One thing I'm struggling with in this dynamic right now is that I keep asking you questions as a joke, and then obviously you have a real answer to them.
I'm so sorry.
And I'm like, stop asking questions as if it's a joke.
Jesse, who are your favorite comedians?
Sam, George, end of list.
Who would you say, if a civilian, I'm sure people ask you this all the time, considering you've written a book about comedy. By the way, I'm doing the defensive thing where I want to ask an obvious thing, so rather than just asking it, I go, don't you hate it when people ask you that? And this is something I figured out how to do on tour, because I kept wanting to ask people cliche questions about their cities. And so I kept being like, do people always ask you about the bean?
Yeah. I think I do that a lot, where I know because when researching a person for my podcast, I will like know the question they're asked every time. So then I'll go, it's like I'm then get in on it. I'm like, everyone loves to ask you about this, right? And then they laugh knowingly. And then I try to figure out a way, basically asking it again, but one step further.
Well, then here's a question for you. What is the most common question you got asked on your publicity tour?
I think it is the topics people want me to touch on are, cancel culture, political correctness run amok. Hassan Minhaj is in the news.
Oh, sure.
What do you think about it? I think it's probably the question I got the most, which is Hassan Minhaj is in the news. What do you think about it? Yeah. And I'm like, I have a lot of thoughts. Yeah. And it's like, here are all of them. And they're like, and then really they want me to be like, thumbs up, thumbs down. But I actually had a more thorough answer.
Oh, a nuanced answer?
I'm sorry.
Oh, nuance.
That's such a bummer.
That is a real bummer. Yeah, you're not going to sell books with nuance.
I know, sweetheart. You got to make headlines.
Yeah, what's this sort of new take on Hassan Minhaj? That's not he's good or he's bad. He's hot. If you had just been like, I don't care about all that, but he is fine, then maybe you could have made headlines.
I've never heard a word that came out of his mouth. I was too busy watching his cheeks move.
This is my main Hassan Minhaj take, which is I've been in spaces where he's hanging out socially, and I've never met a person more willing to ask other people questions in a non-self-conscious way. Mm-hmm. Like truly.
Well, he has a childlike energy.
Yeah, he truly was just like, oh, what's that like? Cool, that's great. And I was like, wow, this is what I imagine normal people must be like.
And actually, what I will say without doxing anyone is people I know that were in that writer's room said he does have a real intellectual curiosity about things he doesn't know. Like, he's not defensive about, like, well, we can't do that on the show because I don't know anything about it. Thoughts?
I'm like, that's good?
I think so. No?
I don't know.
I think
okay, you guys weigh in the comments. Is intellectual curiosity good or bad?
Well, I guess in the context of should we put it on the show? I don't know anything about it.
Well, he doesn't.
But he wants to be educated about it.
I think the hope is the I think the benevolent way of reading it is he enters in an episode topic or whatever with a sort of beginner's mind, and then through the work of learning about it, he then develops enough expertise to then talk about it.
Okay.
I mean,
and hopefully he would then bring that level of that journey to the audience, who also enters into many conversations.
Yes. I mean, as someone who watched that show occasionally, there are topics where I was like, you did not know about this before. I know who you are.
Yeah, I think that's a good reading, a positive reading. The negative reading, of course. There's more on that and more on that.
Okay. I do feel I have the talkies today. I can't stop
I love
speaking.
it.
I know, but
you are hosting a podcast.
That's a good thing.
Yes, but when you're a host,
me?
Well, yes. I do think in this podcast in particular, we love our silent moments.
We do love our silent moments, but I'm also
we love our long pauses.
I mean, there's something so StraightioLab about how meta this entire conversation is.
No, I actually didn't realize how insane I would feel because I'm like, really I don't know how to ask real questions. Yeah. All I can do, this is almost like, I feel similarly like when we had Alison Roman on and I was like, oh, what's your favorite food? I'm sort of like, I can only hear what you do in your whole life as a bit. It must be a bit, correct?
Yeah.
And then it's like,
no, she's a real pro.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like I want to have real answers, but it's hard to be asked a question, have a real answer, and be like, don't think that. Think of what you would say if you were lying and didn't have an opinion about this.
Yeah.
If you didn't literally spend 4 years of your life thinking about just this idea.
Right.
Do you think comedy, no, I'm serious. I feel such a sense of helplessness about the industry side of things.
Sure.
I was talking to someone, I was like, the Comedy Central of the 2010s is something I didn't think twice about. I was like, oh, that's just Comedy Central. Looking back on it, it was a golden era. A golden era that will be written about in history books. The fact that Comedy Central had Nathan For You, Broad City, Key and Peele, half hours by good comedians every financial quarter.
Yeah.
So that was just like a fluke. Like that was just something that like they happened to be the right people at the right time. They did that for approximately 7 years, and then now it's never going to happen again. And Comedy Central literally doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, it really is. And then I'm like, okay, so, and then all the specials that people, like when I talk to non-comedy people, they're all just like, have you seen Ricky Gervais's special?
It's either that or it's like, have you seen like Matt Rife? Do you follow Matt Rife on Instagram?
Yeah.
Like, I do think it's more of that.
Do people go, what do you do for a living? I'm a comedian. It's like, oh, do you follow Matt Rife on Instagram? Is that what the conversations are like?
Kind of.
I mean,
well, it's also just like I feel like we really are in a bubble in terms of just like critical consensus about certain things. And I mean, the Ricky Gervais thing is a good example. Like, I just at some point learned that all his new material is like about how he's persecuted or whatever. I've seen clips. I don't think it's very funny, and so I've sort of moved on. Even though I was a huge fan of his, 10 years ago, and so I just like that's something when I don't think about. And then when you look at the numbers, he's the #1 comedian in the world.
Yeah, it's hard. That's confusing to me.
Yeah.
I also I don't know how you feel about this. I just like have to ignore it. Like I'm not going to change careers tomorrow. Like if it's all crumbling around me, I just have to sort of like be like, okay, well then what's not crumbling? Like,
no, I think you're correct. Otherwise, everyone would just do what the worst possible comedians are doing. And there needs to be a pushback.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Best case scenario, worst case scenario of comedy in 10 years. Go.
Well, I do think I constantly am like, is it over? Right? So, like, I 9 years ago called it the second comedy boom. In the book, I say there's no such thing as comedy booms. It's just sort of waves in which how people like comedy or whatever. And then I put out this book, and I keep on being like, it's not a comedy boom. We as a culture just like comedy more. And now I'm like, no, actually, maybe it's going to end, and it was a boom. Yeah. And there are a few things that are few signs for why it might be ending and what might kill it. Like, in so much as there was a comedy boom that ended in 1992, like what killed that and what's similar then? And then the similar now this answer is to
I'm
correct.
Going. I'm locked in.
So the main thing is like comedy got so watered down and so commercialized by like commercial comedy clubs that people are like, oh, comedy sucks and we don't need to see it. It's corny. It's like just the thing we were doing as a novelty. It's like, and like what escape rooms were or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, now we don't need it anymore. And it's on TV and it sucks. And now it does feel like with like what the algorithm has decided to show people and what young people are being raised to think comedy is, that is bad. And they'll be like, cool, comedy is that thing I just see on Instagram that's like another like, it's as funny as that dog I think is funny. And you're like, wait, no, this is just an art form that I've dedicated 10 years thinking about. And so part of me thinks like, oh, actually maybe it'll end. But then I'm in a room with guys like you and I'm like, the spirit is still alive.
Yeah. And, we're turning down opportunities left and right on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, our fan base can't stop growing.
Sometimes I'm like, relax. I'm not a cult leader,
We still need to be alt.
We still need to be alt.
Well, you have to be alt. And unfortunately, no, we can't not be alt. We're cripplingly alt.
We tried to get a de-alt surgery and it did not take.
Yeah. Yeah, my body rejected it.
No, that is actually a very good analysis. To compare it to an industry that I know nothing about, I almost think, or I imagine it's almost similar to fashion, where like fashion has become so democratized that like on the one hand, everyone knows more about fashion. On the other hand, I imagine if you're an up and coming new designer, it's impossible to break into the industry. Again, do not write in if that's wrong, but I do think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hope is once we break down any sort of like, once all the gatekeepers are crumbled, we'll build anew, but I don't think so.
Not the case.
Not the case.
I don't think so.
I mean, this is like
we've
have
talked about this.
We have one of our least watched reels is me saying
is tough competition.
It's tough competition. Is me saying we need to bring back gatekeepers, but people don't understand. I'm coming at it from with a playful. Well, I'm not saying bring back white male gatekeepers. I'm saying, get new people. Good that I approve of, and have them be gatekeepers.
As a white male gatekeeper.
Oh yeah, tea
spilled.
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
I mean, like, it's fine if I'm, like, besides me, I think it's fine.
Of course.
No, you're the last one.
The spot's taken, and now other spots.
Yeah.
That's talk about the lack of context. You saying we need to bring back gatekeepers. People don't understand that you come from a place of love. They don't see, the moments of you calling your mom on the phone and saying, "How are you?" They don't see.
People weren't mad. People were legitimately like,
no,
how
they ignored it.
Oh, okay.
No,
but I think
the one that people did get randomly mad at, I was thinking about today, was so funny to me. Where we were saying that if you're running 10 minutes late, you shouldn't text your friend because it shows that you guys don't care about each other and you think of it as a business meeting.
You know what's interesting?
People were truly like, how could you say that? Like, you're so inconsiderate. And I was like, everyone calm down.
What's interesting about the internet is that you go in thinking everyone is operating basically. Everyone is kind of joking. Like you go in thinking like this is an improv exercise, but there are people there that are like, this is a presidential debate, and I'm gonna win.
Yeah, it's pretty scary out there.
I mean, I think the scary part is I think everyone is joking except for the thing they're not joking about.
Yes.
And you have no idea what is going to be the thing that one person is not
and then
joking
you're
about.
baited into. Then suddenly I find myself being like, no, you shouldn't text your friend, and I was serious the whole time, like, because otherwise it's not as strong of an argument to be like, no, I was half joking.
I have a theory. Okay, ready?
Okay.
We're figuring it out as we go.
Okay.
Is this why the internet is like obsessed with Shrek? Because it's like, this is the one thing that you can joke about. Shrek is the thing you can joke about. When you're talking about Shrek, you're joking, and no one can take it out of context and be like, jump off a cliff.
Your mind is, as Matthew once said about our good friend Claire Carasillo, a hill to be summited.
Well, I think it's because Shrek, I can't remember who said it, and it might have been one of you too, which is like, no one is more famous than anyone who's famous before 2012. Like, all famous people who were famous by 2012.
Yes, very true.
And I think Shrek was a thing we joked about before 2012, so it remains as a thing we can still understand. Is like,
Shrek is grandfathered in.
Shrek is grandfathered in. Well, there's also something about, am I right to say Shrek was a purely original property? Like, it wasn't based on anything? Shrek 1. It's almost like one of our last.
This feels like a trap because if, like, I want to say, like, yes, it's not based on like
it was.
But then it's like, is it based on some like old fairy tale that I don't know about?
Or like a kid. I just can't imagine
I think
someone
ogres,
in a meeting being like,
well, ogres existed.
Shrek.
I'm telling you, I think ogres existed. Olivia's looking it up. Ogres existed, but I do think Shrek is one of our last new mythological creatures. Don't you think? Like, it's so rare to have something that's not IP that is genuinely new.
It's based on a European story.
As I was saying, everything is IP these days. In case anyone didn't hear Olivia off mic, it is in fact based on some sort of European story. But
if you can't make up an original character based off a European story and still count it as original, I don't want to live in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, once it's in the public domain, it's an original story again.
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes.
I'm sure.
I think it's original.
Donkey is an original character.
Donkey
There's no way Donkey
being in like a sort of kinky relationship with a dragon, that's original.
That's original. There's no way that was in the European tale.
And we're not looking that up. Wait, what were we talking about?
I have no idea.
You said Shrek is the only thing we all know we're joking about.
Yes, no, and that is actually true. Like, okay, what are other things like that where everyone knows they're joking?
Well, internet-wise, I do think, like, there is the thing of, like, Italians. Like, people love to be like...
I actually don't, but I do think you'll find at least 2 people in the comments being like, my Nonna died in the war.
Yeah, World War II.
Yeah, she was a fighter.
She was Mussolini's right-hand woman, and you have to put some respect in your name.
Yeah, she didn't agree, but she was a proud Italian.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the banality of evil. Spilled. Should we do our first segment?
I think we have no choice.
I just lost the lottery for a play.
God, the conspiracy against you is going so deep right
crazy.
now.
I mean, I have been losing it every single day
What
for the
play has a lottery?
I like the Today Ticks lottery. I'm trying to see Merrily.
Oh.
Which cost $1,000 if you see it out of pocket.
It's interesting to refer to it as a play.
Oh, I thought it was going to be interesting to just refer to it as Merrily. I was like, okay, we get it. You're really familiar with the play.
Well, this is something that, because I'm a late in life musical person, one of my ways of pretending I know more is to be like, oh, Merrily.
I'm going to roll along.
Yeah. me trying to fit in but saying the wrong thing.
Yeah, I have tickets for MRA tonight. Or whatever it is.
MRA.
MRNWR.
Along. But I think you can get rid of the we and do MRA.
Yeah.
I truly was like, long. Is that an A or an L?
Oh, let's do our first segment. Okay. Jesse, our first segment is called Straight Shooters, and in this segment, we're going to ask you a series of rapid-fire questions to gauge your familiarity with and complicity in straight culture. It's basically this thing or this other thing, and the only rule is you can't ask any follow-up questions or we'll scream at you so loud you'll take us out of your book.
Well, let's not go that far.
I will say,
I hope there's even more of us in the paperback.
We'll see how this goes. I know that I'm not allowed to ask questions, but when you say to a person,
you
can't ask questions.
Correct.
You just want to ask questions.
Yeah, that's
your rebellious. That's your rebellious.
That's that New York spirit.
That's New York spirit. Okay.
That's someone with an alt sensibility, I would say.
Yeah,
these club people, they hear that and they say, I guess
Jesse,
I won't ask any
all
questions.
I want to say is hold on to that because the industry is going to try to beat it out of you.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse. Wells Fargo or Khal Drogo?
Oh.
Khal Drogo.
Pursuing your passion for dance or reviewing the fashions in France?
Pursuing your passions in dance? For dance.
Okay, totaling your brand new car or halving your daily carbs?
Oh.
Halving your daily carbs.
Dave's Killer Bread or Abe Lincoln's Dead?
Abe Lincoln's dead.
Yeah. Seeing a Banksy or peeing your pantsies?
I have a peeing one too.
Peeing your pansies.
Okay, well, let's keep going with this theme. Peeing in the shower or the feeling of being empowered?
The feeling of being empowered.
Yeah. Okay, the differences between New York and LA or the differences between being straight and being gay?
That's good.
The differences between New York and LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Summertime Sadness, Winter Wonderland, Spring Breakdown, or Fallin' by Alicia Keys?
Ooh.
Winter Wonderland.
Wow. Beautiful.
Well, what do we think? Okay, Jesse, I will say you're at a disadvantage because you're coming to us at a point where we have realized we've recently been too easy on guests.
We've been giving everyone
We've been giving $1,000 for like 3 episodes in a row, and I even though I can't think of any flaws in your performance, we're going to have to find some because...
think of this as an all-stars judging. We have to split hairs here.
Yeah, we really do have to split hairs.
Because we can't just give everyone
honored.
a score.
And also, as an expert in comedy, I don't know, should you have gone above and beyond in some way? Like, is 1,000 Doves enough?
You're familiar with the podcast.
Familiar with the podcast. I don't know. You could have played around with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
You could have sort of ironically asked a question.
That could have been fun. I'm going to say...
I spent the months leading up to when I might be on this being like,
has been
don't ironically play the part of asking a
and
question.
Who knows, it could have backfired too. I'm not saying it would have
I knew I couldn't because it was too in my head. It'd feel too plain. But I would be like, and it literally played it out. I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
It's still a good performance.
You don't have to factor that into your judgment.
I'm thinking like 850.
I was going to say 852.
852?
852 or 850, comma 2?
Great question. 852, the number.
Great. 852. That's a very respectable. You're not getting into Harvard with that, but maybe University of...
Don't say the school I actually went to. That would be insulted.
Don't say what?
I was like, are you going to guess the school that I got into?
No, I was like...
What's the school you're going to think of?
So here's what I was going to say, and I didn't, and I literally did not mean this in a negative way. I just meant this as like a good school that's just that's not like the number one school. I was going to say University of Michigan just because I feel like it is like a very good school and it's where Madonna's daughter went.
Yeah. I got waitlisted there. I'm so embarrassed.
Wait, where'd you go to school?
University of Maryland.
Oh.
Which is like an alt university.
Totally.
No, it's so alt. I had something, but I lost it, which is such an amazing quality for a podcast host to have.
Yeah. Well, subscribe to our Patreon to learn more. Should we get into our topic?
I think so.
Well, I feel like, I don't know, I'm very excited about this topic. I do want to maybe read the list of topics Jesse sent just to sort of warm everyone up.
Yeah.
So these are Jesse's topics. Watches, using partner for your significant other, hot ones / spicy food challenges, height, Generations, things being overrated or underrated, the musical Rent, which that is, juicy.
Yeah.
Have you seen Rent?
No.
Not even the film?
No.
Okay. The multiverse.
We got to do that on Patreon.
That's true.
And hipsters. We do have to do it. Rent, and again, I, on record, not a musical person. The one musical I knew about was Rent because we had the DVD of it when I was in high school, and my sisters and I would watch it constantly while I was closeted somehow.
It's also,
because it's straight.
Because it's straight. Well, it is famously, written by a straight man.
It's too bad Rent is such a short title because it would be so fun to be able to shorten it, abbreviate it.
R. Yeah.
Just to seem like you were even more familiar with it.
Totally. Yeah. But anyway, the point is we decided on the topic of rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Ranking things, whether it's professionally as a cultural critic or amateurishly as an annoying person.
Yeah. So, Jesse, to kick us off, what do you feel is straight about rankings?
I feel like rankings has become a thing that it's like how straight people have decided as their way to interact with culture, period.
Yes.
They're like, the only way I can say I like movies is to say I have an order of movies based on a objective quality, right? Anytime, so like as a job, as a blogger / cultural critic, I have made lists and I made rankings. And anytime I do a ranking, which I think of as a subjective exercise or a editorial exercise or whatever, the response is like, no, actually, this is the best Adam Sandler movie. It's like, well, that best is not a thing. We're talking about the value systems of the ranking, but that instinct is like so straight, which is like, we must have a hierarchy for us to engage with art.
And everything has to be basically everything has to be sports.
Everything
you have to have your bracket. Which is why I would almost say, and this is a dangerous path I'm heading on, your initial topic was ranking / lists. I do think in that binary, lists are more expansive. I think lists are like gay guy listing his favorite films of 2023 and randomly having 3 Hungarian ones in there.
Sure.
Whereas rankings is like straight guy ranking his favorite Tarantino movies.
As soon as there's a number 1 and a number 2, and that's supposed to imply a difference in quality, I'm kind of out.
Yeah.
I actually love when they're like, here's my top 10 in no particular order. I think that's what's tasteful.
I do too, yeah. Because it's sort of like you're saying this is a snapshot of my tastes.
There's a fluidity of like, oh, this is what it is, right? These are the things. Tomorrow, I might like this more than that. Where rankings, like, there's only one way in which I pursue. Every time I watch Kill Bill 2, I'm watching it, but I know I think Kill Bill 1 is better. But maybe I like, and to demand that of art is to categorize it in a very strict way.
I'm having trouble remembering a time before BuzzFeed.
Honestly,
but
that's
I'm really wondering, were rankings as important to people before BuzzFeed, or did BuzzFeed infect our brains and now everything has to be ranked?
I'm trying to I know this is the thing I should have an answer to. I'm trying to remember what life was like before BuzzFeed.
Finally, I asked a real question and he doesn't have an answer.
I know. And I think what BuzzFeed did, because partly like BuzzFeed like would always make people, it's like BuzzFeed would like do lists and rankings and also like what X are you quizzes.
Yeah.
The idea of a person who is not a professional journalist having to actively rank their opinions, I do think BuzzFeed helped usher in. I think like when like the rankings were only in the New York Times, people weren't like, oh, and I should do my ranking and send it out with my Christmas card or whatever.
Yeah.
But then BuzzFeed was like, here's a platform to do your ranking, and you like drag this here and there.
Yeah.
And then kids now are just like, they like turn 13 and they're like, here's my favorite episodes of Bluey or whatever the hell they watch.
I actually wonder if that happens. That would be so slay.
Baby's first ranking. No, it's true. I mean, it must be said, sort of one of the general legacies of like broadly defined like magazine journalism. Like even when you open like an old Cosmo or something, it's like top 10 tips to drive him wild. Like there is something that is just rankings and lists are a natural format for a piece of magazine writing.
Yeah.
And somehow something in our brain activates. I wonder what it is. Like, what is it that makes? I mean, it's instinctively it's obvious, but I mean, how can you put it into words? Like, what is it that makes you more likely to click something that is a list rather than a personal essay about someone coming to terms with their past?
Well, because you can scan it.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah, because you can read it at the airport and be like, I can put this down at any second.
And you can also
matter.
get the insights fast.
Yeah. Like if instead it was like, you know, these are the top 10 moments of my childhood that
were traumatizing.
gave me pain, but also, you know, gave me a worldly perspective.
Right. They should try to do that.
They should.
Was that what Thought Catalog did? I'm trying to remember.
You know, it definitely, it wasn't not what they did. Let's say that. Wait, I have another. No, we can't get into this.
I mean,
I have another comedy question for you.
Sure.
Do you think, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot.
Rank comedians, rank everyone.
Yeah, rank all comedians.
Do you think the form of the humorous essay, where do you see it now, and does it have a future? Like, is there going to be a next David Sedaris?
Oh, David Sedaris.
Like that kind of thing. Because comedians will be writing books of humorous essays, and they're all bad. No offense to all my friends.
Everyone out there.
Everyone is bad, and they have the worst titles.
Well, they're gonna have. I think a book is sort of like a more profitable Instagram reel.
Well, of course.
I just can't. Comedians will continue to be asked to do them because sometimes they really work.
Yeah.
If the title is good, this is the sake for almost all essay collections. If the title is good, it can be a giant hit because then you don't have to read the book. Well, there's a very famous example that I don't want to say because I don't want to be mad at it.
Would never. No.
But it's not by a comedian. It's a famous essay collection of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very famous. It's a very good title.
We know what it is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, actually, I was thinking of a different one.
Which one? Oh, okay. We'll be bald.
I think
yes. Terrible writer, sorry, but very good title.
Yeah, so good title that it appeals to people who don't like books at all.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
It is, and then there are all essay collections are trying to do that no matter what, even ones that are slightly better, but like because it's like
that is such a good title.
Because only so many people read books, but a lot of people buy books. And like that's actually kind of who your demo is.
Damn.
I was talking to your editor last week, and he was saying that the sort of he was saying that he doesn't want a sort of David Sedaris collection from a comedy person. He wants something that has a unifying theme. He's like unifying theme,
but not a memoir and not like
that's a
still
different
an essay
thing.
collection.
That's a different thing. I'm just saying. I was asking him like if a comedian were to pitch you an essay collection, what would you look for?
And their name is George. And
well, I mean,
if there was a Greek gay comedian
that potentially has been targeted by the surveillance state in recent past, and by a Heckler,
and has to move back to Greece to get his phone fixed, and potentially get married there.
Fast.
I mean, I think the real answer is David Sedaris is like a monoculture version of what it looks like. So, what is the sort of non-monoculture? Like, David Sedaris is like truly the one. He is so successful and so famous to so many people. It is absurd for what he does, which is like write personal essays
that are based on lies.
That are based on lies. But like, I don't know what is better than, who knows what his truth is like.
I mean, yeah.
And, you know, he plays like, he reads to thousands of people. So what is sort of the more niche version of it? And it's like covering that up.
Doing that, but in a sort of Bushwicky way.
Yeah. What's the who's the Bushwick? David Sedaris.
Lots to think about.
Ranking.
Top 5 humorists, go.
Oh my God. I mean, that's the thing. You're sort of like...
I'm like thinking of a second humorist.
It's like Jonathan Swift, David Sedaris, end of list.
It's like David Rakoff wasn't a humorist, right? He was he counts as an essay.
I mean, Samantha Irby is like someone who I feel like is in the tradition of David Sedaris.
But Simon Rich is a humor writer. He's not a humorist, or does that count?
Oh God,
that is where you lose me. But okay, so
like ranking
culture. Because I do think it has infiltrated everything.
Yeah,
and it has meaning. Like if you say to a person, like even the idea that like my favorite movie of the year.
Yes.
Which I think is a thing people probably said before BuzzFeed. Seems like a sentence, right? Yeah. But now when you say it, you are saying it like it's a statistic. Like I did the calculations. It's almost like we've like removed the idea of subjective opinion. And even though it is all subjective opinion, but we all act like it's objective opinion. And that's what ranking is trying to do.
Exactly. It's like rather than competing subjectivities, it's competing objectivities. And you're like, well, nothing good is going to come out of that.
And that is a sports thing, right? Because it's like, right? It's like there is sports does have statistics. So hypothetically, you should rank, you can rank based on statistics. However, most people like to actually rank sports subjectively, but they go back and forth in terms of usage. And now people, because of, as we talk about a variety of websites from 10 years ago, like Grantland, I think like we do sports and we do culture. And I think to mash those together, I think brought in a certain sort of like framing of how a certain sort of straight person would orient themselves with culture, which is like, oh, there is a best movie ever. This is the best movie ever, and that means something. And if you go like, if you say, I don't know, you say like The Dark Knight is the best movie ever, that like, it's like, no, it's the best movie ever because of this. You're like, you're allowed to just like a thing, right?
Sort of sprinkling numbers into something is because we value quantitative methods over qualitative methods in our sick culture.
That's disgusting.
Sprinkling numbers on something just like gives it the air of seriousness rather than, again, writing like a long essay that's about like the changing aesthetics of the noir, like in the 21st century or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like immediately you're like, well, there's a 1, a 2, a 3. I basically have a Nobel Prize.
I know that one thing that confuses me about rankings too is, especially with the TikTok generation, is I'm like, isn't this going to be embarrassing? Like, I remember I would like be like, these are my top albums. Like I loved trying to find my top albums when I was like 22. And then it was like, I'm glad that was in like a private Facebook group because now they are so horribly embarrassing. And like,
I bet you they're not that bad. They're like Animal Collective.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're like, but they were like clearly me trying to be cooler
but
than I was.
It's like, because it's the fact is I did it as well, and I bet our lists are similar because it was us thinking we were expressing our original opinions, but we were expressing our ability to know what the Pitchfork opinion was. But we were not actually expressing ourselves. We were like trying to guess what Pitchfork's list was, even though, and then we're like, and hoping we're like, and so that's, but now I feel like these TikTok kids are cynically, literally just copying those opinions and acting like, because they don't want to be wrong.
Right. And I've watched some crazy videos of like a 23-year-old being like, these are my top songs of all time. And it's like, Caroline Polachek, So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings. And it's sort of like, I love that song, but it's so funny to cling to that so hard. It's like, you can't remove the person from the context.
It's beautiful. I mean, I think there's also a desire to like, create order in these times, right?
Institutions are crumbling.
Yeah, we've lost religion. People are like, I don't know why we exist on Earth, but I know.
I'll log into Letterboxd.
Yeah. So I know that Inglourious Basterds is the best Quentin Tarantino movie.
Wow. So if we can solve global warming, we won't have rankings.
I think we can solve, if we solve all societal ills, or just like go back and...
Everyone will go back to writing personal essays rather than ranking things.
Do you think, this is something we talked about sort of yesterday, but do you think in like more societies that have like universal health care...
People are ranking less? Yes, I do think people are ranking less. I think ranking is a quintessentially American impulse. The original ranking was America being like, which are our favorite countries? We won't kill those.
Yeah.
Right, it's America number one.
The fact that literally America number one. Yeah. America was started in a rank-based way.
We are a rank-based culture. It was pre-BuzzFeed. But was it pre-America?
Or pre-9/11?
Also, America's obsessed with being like the first so-and-so in Asia. The first democracy in the Middle East.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I think other countries have pride without that pride needing to be competitive with other countries' pride. Though I do see that changing on like my algorithms, or in so much as it's like people from some Eastern European country, like making the definitive sauce of every country to then do a ranking of the best national sauces of.
Well, that also goes back to like,
and you're like, oh no,
incentives of an algorithmic environment where everyone, in order to get noticed, has to rank the sauces of their country. Like, otherwise, what are you doing?
I mean, if we took our careers seriously, we would be ranking the sauces of every country.
Yeah.
You would have a big ranking of straight things and about what is the most straight and then be like, okay, and then you have the big board. I'm pointing, this is for listening, I'm pointing to where the board would be. And then like someone bring a topic, like rankings, and you'd be like, yeah, rankings is like 15, doesn't beat whatever the number one topic.
We should rank all our episodes from 1 to 400.
Wow.
For the Patreon.
I think that would be a really good episode.
I mean, yeah, I will say when we did the top of the year for the Patreon, I was like, I'm having fun. Like, it is fun to just like sort of erase the part of your brain that's more nuanced and just be like 1, 2, 3.
Well, that's the other thing that we're not talking about is just like lists are easier. Like no one can like necessarily check
and
you.
Fun.
And they're
like, fun to do. More fun than writing a personal essay.
Yeah, no one's expecting a conclusion. They're just like, give me your thoughts generally.
Like I mean, literally, I've did a 25,000 word ranking of Adam Sandler movies because I did not just want to write a long essay about my opinions about Adam Sandler. And because one, it would be harder. I'd have to write an introduction and a conclusion that like all were beautiful or whatever. And then, and instead the number one is satisfying because it's the end. And then also more people would read it than it's just sort of like some guy's take. Another elder millennial's take on like why Adam Sandler is actually blah blah blah.
Right. Well, I mean, I would argue that a list like that has an inherent sense of irony. You are not like dead-eyed.
Well, it's alt, like, right? I've maintained my alt.
Like, I do think that is like substantially different than,
but also
potentially one of your coworkers in New York Magazine ranking like the top whatever.
Where did Chuck and Larry fall?
Movies. Oh yeah, good question.
I didn't memorize. It is higher than people would think. The problem with Chuck and
it's an Alexander Payne script.
Yeah.
Well, it's the first script, and then Adam does the Adam Pass. But like, but the problem with it is how he portrays straight people in that movie.
Sure.
Like it's really pro-gay.
No, it is actually sort of.
What he's done, like, I don't know the last time you watched Big Daddy. There's like in the middle of Big Daddy, he just advocates for gay marriage. They're just like having a normal movie, and then a character's gay, and then
chills.
Yeah. No, he's an ally. I mean, he is also, a Republican, but but that's a different thing.
Yeah, we definitely don't want you to go to the nature of his specifics of why he's what politics.
Yes.
But so Chuck and Larry is definitely like patronizing two straight men to be like, gay people are okay.
Yeah.
And as a contrast, this is what straight people like, and it's like buffoonish and terrible. And I think he has to play lecherous in a way that he's not adept at, because I don't think his persona is like...
Agreed.
He doesn't like his movies. He doesn't sexualize women in a grown-up way. He sexualizes women in like a 13-year-old boy way, and like I think that allows them to be a little bit easier to watch. And that movie, he's like
creepy. Yeah. And I actually think that might be what people are even responding to when they panned it more than the homophobia. Is like, oh, we love Adam Sandler. Why is he being so creepy towards Jessica Biel and being like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
No, I mean, also this was at a time where they did hate him. The idea that we now all
because he was like. He had sold out or whatever.
Who knows the reasons? I mean, I do know the reasons. Wrote 25,000 words, but he makes lowbrow movies.
It was the low point. Yes. That's fair.
That's fair. There are a lot. The worst of his movies in that time period, like Pixels, is like
Jack
really,
and Jill.
Really bad. Jack and Jill has parts that are so silly.
Okay.
Don't mess with the Zohan.
Zohan is really good. Have you watched it?
No, I've never seen it.
So I don't know what the politics are now, but it is like a
bombing.
No, it did pretty well.
It did well?
Yeah.
No.
So
sorry,
all
my
of
alt circle,
that era,
my alt bubble.
That era of movies to me is encapsulated by The Love Guru.
Yeah, so The Love Guru really, really bombed.
Yes.
And was essentially SpawnCon for the NHL. But all the Adam Sandler movies did well until Jack and Jill and That's My Boy, and then Pixels. And then he started doing Netflix movies, so he stopped like doing it. But everyone, like, Click made more money than Borat is like the example I use, where you're like, what? Borat, the seminal comedy of the 21st century? It's like, yeah, made like $50 million less than Click did. Now, I rank Click as the number one Adam Sandler movie.
Well, when I was at Gawker, I can't remember if I actually edited this or I was just like there for the pitch meeting, but Sarah Hagee wrote a post about how Click makes straight men cry. Like, and there's all this evidence online of men being like, wow, did not expect this to make me cry.
I just like you putting out a straight man voice for that.
But I do think Click is like this secretly impactful movie that people don't talk about.
Yeah, well, they're keeping that secret pretty tight.
Anyway, Don't Mess with Zohan has a lot of like, again, who knows the politics of it now, but has a lot of like, it's a really funny movie. Like, Judd helped with the script more than he normally does, so there's lots of like, you know, intra-Jewish jokes of like how Jewish people see Israelis.
Is Zohan Israeli? Yeah,
Zohan is Israeli, so but it's none of them are, so it's like a little bit of that. So and then again, John Turturro plays a Palestinian, and like I don't know what it's. I can't remember.
We need to StraightioLab Movie Club. We got to get to the bottom of the politics of Don't Mess with Zohan. And I am. Right now, we're not endorsing it. We're not endorsing it because we don't.
We've never seen it.
We've never seen it.
But
Jack and Jill has some really funny scenes.
Okay.
One is famous where Al Pacino does an ad for Dunkin Donuts.
Oh, I've seen this on the internet, I think.
You know, take me back.
I have a rankings question. Do you guys like when there's a ranking? Do you read the whole thing or do you just scroll to number one?
I first scroll to number one and then skim the rest of it.
So with the Adam Sandler ranking, I did go, I know you've already scrolled to in the intro, I go, just in case you don't, so you don't have to scroll number one. Number one is Click. Now let me finish my intro.
Oh, wow.
That is service journal, or no, I guess that's not the definition.
Because also it's really long. It would take a really long time to skim. Also, like, I did conceive of it to be read somewhat in order. So it's like, it's Click. Don't worry about it. It's Click. I also wrote the entry for Click being like, you're probably reading this either first or second. I'm now going to explain the value system of this list before you go back to read.
Can I ask something? Is number 2 at least Punch Drunk Love?
Punch Drunk Love is 5.
Okay, slay.
Because the idea of the list, it's about the idea of value systems and trying to analyze Adam Sandler by what he values in movies.
Sure, I see.
So the problem with Punch Drunk Love is like ultimately it's not an Adam Sandler movie. All the other Adam Sandler movies are such Adam Sandler movies.
Right. Is Uncut Gems number 2?
No, Uncut Gems is like the thing about both of those movies. Uncut Gems is maybe like 12 or something.
I mean, I know they are not. I totally see what you're doing.
But why they both work more than like Spanglish, which I think is like a decent Adam Sandler performance, is both of those movies are those directors trying to make an Adam Sandler movie, but they do not. They just, they don't have the willingness to do the things that Adam does. Right. But like Punch Drunk Love follows a Adam Sandler arc, and like Uncut Gems is an Adam Sandler type character.
Very much so.
So like they still fit, but like Adam has certain things he does in all. Adam has certain things that he has in all his movies that are not in Uncut Gems.
I have such a like distinct. Sorry, we can move on from
please.
Adam Sandler.
Top 5 Adam Sandlers. Hubie Halloween, Hubie Halloween.
I do think Hubie Halloween is really high. It's really, it's really good.
No, I actually stan Hubie Halloween.
Oh, it's great.
You know what was very formative to me was the Hanukkah song when I was before I moved back to Greece when I was in New Jersey. I was like, that's funny.
Well, about the Hanukkah song fits into this category of like stuff that other people told me was good. So I was like, okay. Yeah. But it's like I had no context for any of it, but I was just like, okay, yeah, I guess this is comedy.
I wonder what young people think of it that are not Jewish, because part of what is so funny is that is not information you could just find. This is a song pre us knowing facts. So it's just part of what's so interesting. It's just sort of
he did research about history.
Literally the story is like it's like a bunch of people at SNL had to like think and ask around who was Jewish. So there is a sort of like, wow, that's like fun to imagine like a bunch of people doing that. Now it's just like, yeah, I can find people Jewish. Who's Jewish?
So funny.
Wow.
But I have a memory of seeing Spanglish whenever it came out. And I do not think my critical faculties were fully formed, but I remember being like, oh, this is an indie. Like, this is a sophisticated family dramedy. And I was like very moved. But I think one of the daughters was going through something in the movie. I thought Taylor Leone was giving an incredible performance. I was like, this is Sundance.
That's how I felt when I saw Napoleon Dynamite.
Have you rewatched either? Have either of you rewatched those things?
No, but I have heard Spanglish is bad, and so I just sort of have to treasure my memories.
He's good in it.
Thinking it's good. Is it like racist?
It's not like it's not super
like, or it's
it's a James L. Brooks movie. I think.
It is. Okay.
It's not like.
So what? It's just like sort of boring and not fully formed.
Yeah, I think some of those performances that you thought were good are not
good.
Yeah, I think Téa Leoni
is not good.
Kind of sleepwalks through a little bit, and but partly because actually her part is so thankless.
Yeah,
and her part like, it's like the movie's like gaslighting Téa Leoni and whatever, and then like. Adam it's interesting he's being understated whatever, but like the sort of it's a movie about essentially like to get a nanny who only speaks Spanish and then like and it's about miscommunication or whatever. But yes, there is a daughter who's like going through something.
Is it Sarah Steele? It doesn't matter.
Who, the daughter?
Yes.
I don't know.
It
is? Wow.
Sarah Steele is in the movie.
I am acquaintances with her.
Oh.
Here's what I need you to do. Can you rank Steve Martin movies for Vulture.com? Because I am for the past few years have been in a place of watching/rewatching some of the classics. And I mean, first of all, he's the most gifted comedic performer of his generation. But there are so many like small ones that people don't talk about.
Well, he's a weird one.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the same like ownership over his movies as
really. I feel like he does. I mean, to me, like Roxanne, but like it's so.
Well, he doesn't have giant, big comedy hits like all of his peers do, even though you think he would because he's Steve Martin.
Oh,
right.
Interesting.
Like after The Jerk, he did like a lot of like. The Jerk was like a huge hit, and especially for what it was. And then it's like, and then he did like a bunch of interesting things that are totally different while his peers were making Ghostbusters.
Oh,
like literally while his peers were inventing the comedy blockbuster, he was making like understated rom-coms.
Yeah,
I guess that's true.
And like, so it's not like Martin Short, who like literally did not have a movie career at all, essentially. Even though like we think of Martin Short as like one of the.
I mean, talk about the most gifted comedic.
Yeah, but like where like truly Chevy Chase was like inventing what a comedy movie star was.
True. Wow. It had never to me.
So yes, I do think it'd be interesting because he like made a type of movie that essentially never existed ever.
Yes, and there are truly so many of them. I mean, I watched one where he like switches souls. It's sort of like with Lily Tomlin.
Yeah,
and so he's being Lily Tomlin and she's being Steve Martin. It's like, why isn't that a huge classic that people talk about all the time? Or like, I just watched LA Story, which is sort of an insanely written movie. It makes no sense, but it's with like Sarah Jessica Parker, Steve Martin. Sarah Jessica Parker plays like sort of a ditzy 22-year-old, and she's doing like pre-Carrie Bradshaw, just being like, hi, oh yeah, oh, like for 2 hours.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anyway. Did you see Pennies from Heaven? Is that the one, the musical?
No, I have not seen that one.
He essentially, after The Jerk, made a musical. I was like, oh, this will be fun. Like his version, and then it's like 100% serious and super sad. You're like, this is partly why he didn't become a. It's kind of like he did what now happens to comedians, which is like, okay, I did a huge funny special, time to do an understated like tone piece. And as a result, he's not as famous as the people who are like, oh, I might as well like parlay this to being a giant funny person. Yeah. So yeah, I think it'd be an interesting thing to do if we
now
hadn't
he's
done
working with Selena Gomez. Let that be a cautionary tale for all.
Yeah, don't be understated.
I think it's nice to work.
No,
no.
And he's doing well, and that show is very successsul.
So shout out to the whole team.
Yeah, she has such a range as an actor.
Very funny voice.
Yes.
I never heard her. I had, as a straight person, I've never interacted with her anything.
She
and a
make
straight
top
older
5
person.
albums.
Yeah, I knew. So I did like the time where she did that Talking Heads song. But then I saw her on this.
That is the straightest. To be like, oh yeah, Selena Gomez. I loved when she did that Talking Heads song.
That's really funny. I was like, I had no idea she ever did a Talking Heads song.
She did a song that did essentially the Psycho Killer like beat she did. I will say this. I knew about it because I saw Haim cover it on YouTube. And I was like, this is
now you're talking our language.
Yeah. To bring it around. Damn. Anyway, so like I see her on that show. I was like, what a funny voice she has. It's like a funny little talking voice she had.
She's been through a lot.
Yeah, of course.
I've heard. I don't know what any of it is, but I have heard she's been through
multiple documentaries.
Multiple documentaries about her, all produced by her.
Yeah.
So she's a documentarian as well.
Yes. I mean, she's very talented. Well, yes. I will say she's as talented as a documentarian as she is a vocalist.
Damn. I love when you're a bitch for no reason. Go
All
off.
humor books by your peers are bad.
No, not all of them.
No.
Rank them. Which ones are good?
Yeah, top five.
Jacqueline's is good. End of list. Okay. Should we do our final segment? I actually don't even know where are we on time?
I don't know.
The time.
We can
just
keep talking.
fly.
I mean, I think it's
Did we
time.
talk
It's
about
time.
rankings?
Yeah, I
Did we
think we
talk
did.
about rankings? I'm like,
Is there anything you wanted to say that you haven't gotten to say? We're not like rushing you out.
No.
I'm hopped up on caffeine and could keep talking for hours.
I just want to make sure if there's a person that's like,
Well, okay, here's a question. Like, is there any place where rankings do work? Like, if we think they're inappropriate for, I mean, honestly, they work for product recommendations. Like, Wirecutter can't be writing personal essays.
yeah. That's a question. It's like, is there ways to queer the space?
Yeah.
Of course, obviously, I'm sure there are gay journalists who have now done rankings.
Yes.
the thing is, if you rank like top 5 air purifiers or whatever, it's like, this is very practical, but it's like, they're not going to buy 5. It's sort of like, give me number 1, and that's like, why even have 5?
Right. I think the reason is because it's like the budget pick.
Sure.
But then that's a list more than a ranking.
Yeah.
Though I did read the ranking of, I don't want to say this because I'll spoil my.
Okay.
And I'm like,
I need to know what it is, but
You'll find out soon enough.
Okay.
There's another segment to come, and I will bring it up.
I'm actually like, I do think the queering of it, I do think we just do need more personal essays that are sort of like, I like this album, here's why.
It does seem like I'm forgetting
kind
a
of a-
book that is like my top 10 movies, but it's actually a memoir that's like uses each movie as a jumping.
yes.
That seems like such an obvious.
Dave Holmes wrote a memoir that's called like something like along the lines of My Life in Songs or something, and it's like, I don't know, 12, 15 different songs, and sort of an essay about each one of them, but they're not ranked. They're not necessarily even his favorite songs. It's just like a song that either reminds him of a time in his life or as a jumping off point for a larger piece of cultural criticism. And I like that as a form. Okay, maybe that's what I'll pitch to Jackson.
That's literally like this whole thing is like,
It's like, okay, so it's My Life in Songs.
well, what are your songs?
Oh, God, we can't go there.
Selena Gomez, single
soon. Yeah.
I think we should do our final segment.
Okay, let's do our final segment. I mean, if only I had one.
I mean, if only I had one. You know, it's so hard these days to come up with something.
Well, I have a thing, if we have time, introduce the topic and I will ask my question, because I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yes.
Yeah,
And in fact, I just thought of one, so I could not be more thrilled to be moving on to this segment.
Our final segment is called Shoutouts, and in this segment, we pay homage to the grand straight tradition of the radio shoutout, giving a shout out to anything that we enjoy at all.
Here's the question.
What's your
I'm allowed to-
question?
Is it a grand straight tradition?
Yes.
Yeah, like
yes.
Z100, like
TRL.
TRL.
And when you're seeing those people on TRL doing that, you're going, those are straight people living a straight people life.
there's something so...
It's always too. When I think about TRL, they're
Speaking
doing
of
it,
ranking.
Yes.
When I think about speaking of
very
ranking,
true.
When they were doing it, it was always like there was something braggy about it, where it was like, shout out to my marching band back home, like I'm in NYC and you're in Ohio.
Well, there's also an unadulterated joy and positivity that is more difficult for queer people to access. They know too much.
That's
Now I
true.
see. All right, cool.
In
But I
fact,
do think
would say
TRL is
that-
also useful because that's another way rankings exist, which is like stan culture needing your thing to be the number one ranked whatever.
Right. Well, to me, the opposite of a shout out, I don't think so, honey. And that's negative. And that's
true.
gay.
And that's gay.
So there you go.
So there you go.
Finally.
QED.
I mean, I do think, we talked about rankings a lot as a cultural thing, but when it comes to gay straight, yes, gay people do it almost as much, if not more, in a way
I
that
forgot we didn't. That was the thing I felt like.
that's
we
what
didn't-
that's what the show is about.
Yeah. Yeah, the show is about horseshoe theory.
So that's where it gets complicated, and so complicated, in fact, that we would rather not address it and ignore
we forgot to ignore that gay people rank things all the time.
No, they
Well, I don't
love
know.
ranking things. Gay guys especially.
Gay guys like ranking things. 'Cause-
Lesbians, personal essays.
Yeah.
What are gay guys ranking? Like both culturally and
Fucking pop music.
and always. Do you feel like gay guys from the 1980s were doing it?
Yes. I think
100%.
Oscar Wilde was like, which chicas do I like?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Those are,
Do you disagree?
no, I'm coming. I entered in this into Hassan Minhaj-esque.
Yeah.
With a childlike wonder.
You know who great at subverting rankings? David Letterman. Speaking of comedy, he would do the, what are they called? Like, was it just called like top 10?
Yeah.
I mean, that was sort of an early satire of the list form.
Of course.
The ranking form.
Well,
Yeah, I feel like there probably was a thing like Spy Magazine.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know anything about Spy Magazine, but I assume it
Wow,
was
a
like,
comedy journalist who doesn't know anything about Spy Magazine. Interesting.
I don't like written comedy.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like performed comedy.
Yeah. Spy Magazine is one of those things that everyone always talks about being so classic. And then you try to read it and you're like, I don't get these references.
I mean, I feel that way about so many things.
Or like Mad Magazine too, where you're like,
Mad Magazine. I mean, when people were like National Lampoon, like back then, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna try to look this up, and it's like, what am I watching? What is this about?
I think I'm going to press play on Click again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm watching Hubie Halloween for the 14th time. In the middle of summer, no
I
less.
have to get my hands on a copy of that VHS.
It's on Netflix.
Wow. Okay, so
Okay.
The grand tradition.
the grand tradition.
Yeah, so George, you said you had one.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay. What's up, gym rats and everyone out there bulking like me? I want to give a shout out to the protein bar brand Bear Bells. I repeat, Bear Bells, and specifically the caramel cashew flavor. I started eating these because I sort of, for 1 week, had this idea that I was gonna maybe gain some muscle mass for the first time in my life. I've given up on that, but now I just eat them because they are absolutely delicious. If you ever want to just eat a candy bar and sort of feel like you're also having a meal, and even if you're planning on having a full, normal, sort of chicken-based meal afterwards, I highly recommend the caramel cashew flavor. I also like the salty peanut flavor, and there's also one that's just called creamy and crunchy, and I haven't had the bravery to try it because I have no idea what it will taste like, but I'm gonna go on record that I will try it in the next month. Shout out to Bear Bells. I don't know what they put in there. It is 20 grams of protein and it tastes like a Snickers.
Wow.
Go out there and explore all the different flavor options. Woo!
Woo! Okay, I'm sorry I wasn't responding in the moment. I was too busy in my
I know, I've
mind
been there.
trying to figure out what I was gonna do, and that you finished, and I was like, I forgot to react at all.
No,
you felt
no,
like you were
no.
performing for a wall.
I mean, I was recommending a brand of protein bars. You
Which
know, I'm
is
not expecting
valid.
a standing ovation.
Okay, I have one. What's up, freaks, losers, and perverts? In an act of radical self-love, I'm giving a shout out to my haircut. That's right.
And I can attest to that.
I
Great.
went and got a haircut in Los Angeles, California from a guy who was kind of rude. He was sort of trying to queer eye me, but opposite. He was, he he insulted the current haircut I had, and he put product in without asking me, and et cetera, et cetera. But basically what he ended up doing was giving me the most normal haircut of all time. And in a sense, it's radical, and it actually is so fun, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm saying, this is a different side of me. It's almost me if I was a gym teacher in the Midwest. And of course, if you know anything about me, you know that that's hot to me. So I feel so like I'm in a character, but the character is me, and I'm so happy, and I'm actually worried about it growing out, which is normally the opposite of how I feel at haircuts. So shout out to the rude guy in LA, shout out to Los Angeles, California, and shout out to my beautiful haircut. XOXO, Sam.
God, it's so fascinating that, like, you think this haircut is gym teacher, but, like, your mullet was gay guy in Brooklyn. When, in fact, to me, this haircut is actually, like, sort of like professional gay guy, you know, on the up and up in the world, working at the big ad agency. And then mullet is more gym teacher.
No way.
It is
It's
like
complicated.
haircut.
Yeah.
It
It's
is go
haircut.
to a person and they go, as a person who gets haircuts from straight men, and they go, this is haircut, this is the number on your side you get, and this is the amount on top associated to the number on your side.
And I thought, like, I was sort of like, I'm going to hate this. And then I'm I'm loving my normal era, I think.
It looks really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am jealous of it. And I also got a haircut, but I'm just like, I wish my haircut was like that. But that looks like your hair better than mine.
Well, no. I'm sure that's not true.
I'm wearing a hat. You'll never know.
Okay, Jesse, whenever you're ready.
What's up, Adam Sandler, Hassan Minhaj, and all the straight people listening to this show? Woo. I want to give a shout out to Writing Things Down. I recently was reading the strategist ranking of pens and went as high as I can go while also not having to spend more than $20. And I bought a fountain pen, and I just write things down all the time so I remember them. I also will write things down on the subway when I have a thought, so I look like I'm either a stand-up comedian or like an artsy person. I would have wrote things down this entire time, but I didn't want to give you guys a complex and think I was critiquing you. Sometimes you write things down at a restaurant, they think you're a food critic.
Ooh.
And it's just nice to do something not on your phone. Shout out to pen, shout out to paper. It's been around for a while. And thank you guys for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for doing it. I do want to say just one thing is that I like writing a lot, but when you don't do it often,
you forget.
My wrist hurts. My wrist hurts very, very quickly.
I have a question for you. What kind of pad are we talking about when you're like at a restaurant writing? Because you want something small enough that it doesn't take up too much space.
I have my fine employer has a I believe they're called reporters pad.
Oh yes,
Oh,
I actually
fun.
have those
Long.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe considering we
No, I used to work at the Columbia Journalism School, and they were just handing them out like candy.
Now that we have to end, I'm like, damn, but there's so much more stuff I want to say. One, I think it's funny that you your betrothed is a literal food critic, because it is such a funny thing to think about. It's like eating spaghetti and being like, spaghetti, yum.
I mean, quite literally.
On the same, he brings his own, the same pads that I'm writing on, as we, not only is he a little food critic, I'm going back to the office right now and we'll look at him.
Yeah.
Chocolate cake, delish.
Well, he actually now sits by the Vulture desk.
Wow.
So he says he hears all the various conversations happening.
Yeah, now that we hash things out.
Do you feel like I am curious what his vibe is at work. I'm like, I can imagine him being accidentally, I genuinely say, like, accidentally not meaning to be looking sort of standoffish.
I don't know yet, because it's like, now that he's sitting around us, I think in general, sometimes Vulture has a vibe of being insular and people don't know if we want people to engage or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure he's probably still feeling that.
Yes,
out.
I think
so it's a hard yes.
He also is sort of solitary. I mean, he does have a job that isn't part of it. I mean, it's him and his editor, and there is the Grub Street team, but I do think it's sort of a solitary job.
Does he rank? Is he best restaurant?
He does spaghettis?
Best spaghettis. He only ranks spaghetti.
They used to do that, but that predates him. There was like a big
there's like critics'
list.
choice. If something is like really good, it'll get critics' choice, but he doesn't do a star rating.
Which is the cousin of ranking, is star rating.
Star rating. Now that's interesting. Do you think star rating is gay or straight?
Gay.
Okay.
Wait, Olivia, did you have something you want to say?
I just wanted to share more Shrek stuff.
Oh, okay.
Rank the Shrek movies.
We're going to talk
Rank the
Shrek
Shrek movies.
after we end the recording. So
Jesse David Fox, thank you so much for doing the podcast. Everyone can buy Jesse's book, Comedy Book, wherever you get your books. And also Peacock, good one. When does it premiere?
March 26th.
March 26th. So peacock.com.
Is that even true?
Get that login.
Yeah, it's peacock.com.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you think you couldn't even get peacock.com?
I thought that was
Give
just
them some credit.
I thought it was like an app. You know, you don't go to peacock.com to watch stuff. No one says like go to netflix.com.
Well, they are when they're trying to be funny about it.
When you're watching on your laptop, are you downloading the Netflix app?
I'm not watching it on my laptop.
Oh.
Everyone's screaming at me.
I just think a lot of Americans watch on their laptop.
So you can speak for a lot of Americans now all of a sudden.
Well, I just think I'm well traveled. I've met people all around. There are people out there typing in Netflix.com.
I don't know.
Watching Jack and Jill.
I know a lot of Americans, and they are not typing.
And we need to connect with those people. Otherwise, this podcast is not going to grow.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.